beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Marie Claire. How is everybody doing today? I hope we're all keeping well and great. On today's episode of Sickle and Shine, we'll be talking about something interesting. Well, it's always something interesting, isn't it? Well, today's topic is about pregnancy, my journey, the big surprise. I mean, this is me. I was being told by the medics that there was very little chance that I was going to get pregnant, that I will not be able to carry a child, a pregnancy. You know, even after all the medical intervention, that was not possible. I was told to think about getting a surrogate or, adopting or you name it, but I wasn't going to be able to carry a child because of my complexities. But deep down in me, for some reason, I refuse to accept that fact. Well, I wouldn't call it a fact. I refuse to accept that verdict. I had some form of hope, and I think that hope even grew stronger when my husband told me that he doesn't believe anything they say. I mean, he had no evidence to prove them otherwise, but for some reason he just couldn't accept it, and he said to me that I don't believe what those people say. I am convicted that we will be able to get pregnant someday. So this episode is about that journey, and yeah. So after coming back from the IVF PGD treatment, the failed PGD treatment, I mean, we did all our research. I made a lot of personal changes, and well, just hoping that something will happen, and also discovering that book. It all starts with the egg. Yeah, all the changes I made, came from this book from Rebecca Fett's recommendation. And, we were in the process of again, the PGD treatment. But for some reason, we found ourselves pregnant. And pregnancy occurred naturally and with a 75% chance of us carrying a child with sickle cell. Anxiety sets in. I mean, we started getting worried about what will happen if this child has sickle cell. We have tried all possible way of trying to conceive, via PGD, so we could avoid carrying a child with sickle cell, but that didn't work, and now we're pregnant with that much percentage of the child being sickle cell. So it was a worry. We had to decide what to do. So we didn't tell anyone, not even family, about the news, that we're pregnant. Even though as excited as we were, it was very difficult to keep the news within, and we had to make sure that we were doing the right thing, before we have all the information that we have before telling family and friends. And that was a very difficult time. Now my consultants have been told about the news, Marie Claire's pregnant. We have to be seen as soon as possible. They wanted to see us to discuss next steps. PGD didn't work. We've conceived naturally. A lot of tests have to be done. They need to make sure that everything is in place should I decide to carry on with the pregnancy. I mean, I know that many people have their opinions on this, but living with sickle cell has lots and lots of challenges. And just the fact that, I will have to carry a child that has sickle cell, and me going through all the challenges that I go personally with this child, was just not something that settled well with us. My husband and I had a really, really long talk about the situation, and that's the reason we went for PGD, because I mean, I couldn't see myself doing this. I spent a lot of times being admitted in hospital, being sick and having to depend on loved ones to do basic things for me. And, having a child with sickle cell, who was going to do that? That was just too much. And I didn't want to be that selfish as much as I wanted a child. I did not want to be that selfish. So I had to uh, consider all of these things, before I could make that decision. We had to go in for testing. We needed to know that this child is either sickle cell free or not. So for us to be able to make an informed choice. And that was something that the both of us had agreed to do. So we decided to test the pregnancy. And at this point, I had left everything in God's hands. There was not much I could do. No amount of prayer could change the genotype of this fetus I was carrying. I was as excited as my husband, and we just wanted to know if the child we're carrying had sickle cell. So there is a test being provided by the NHS to all pregnant women uh, to test for genetic disorders. This test is called CVS, chronic chorionic villus sampling. So we had to, or amniocentesis, we had to do that, and that's usually done between 12 to 20 weeks of pregnancy, and the earlier the better, because if there's any decision of termination, you want to do that as early as possible, because there will be less complications. So we booked for this test to be done, and it was very painful. It was a very difficult test, and there is a slight chance of miscarriage if you happen to take this test. Not everybody. It's not compulsory. You don't have to do it, but we wanted to do it. But if you happen to do it, there is that chance of you having a miscarriage, because a needle is being put into your tummy. So they can get to the placenta, so they can take a sample of it, to test it to see if the child you're carrying has a genetic disorder. So we had to do this test. It was very painful. I felt so sick afterwards. And, with all the emotions going on about, the anxiety of what this child was going to be, sickle cell or not, and what we're going to do after. And things had already been put in place, because we had decided that we did not want to, carry on a pregnancy if the child had a sickle cell. So you can imagine what we were going through. It was a very, very difficult time in our lives, and we had to wait several weeks for this test result to come back. And oh boy, the wait was excruciatingly painful. It was very, very difficult. And for some reason, the fact that I was pregnant, I was feeling every single bit of movement. It was too early, I know, it was too early, but every single bit of movement, I could feel it. And yes, I was that conscious. And, I think the anxiety level was just over the roof. And, there was nothing I could do about it. I just tried my best to keep myself busy with other things and waiting for that phone call to tell us. So, yeah, on this fateful day, we were sitting in the kitchen. I will never forget that. We were sitting in the kitchen, and the doctor who did the test, the CVS test, amniocentesis test, called us and said to me, "I hope you are sitting down, and I wanted to tell you your test results." So I just sat on the floor, because I was literally shaking. And he said to me, "Congratulations." And I didn't even hear the rest of it. I tell you, I was that excited. I just started screaming. I didn't even hear the rest of it, because the joy, the excitement that was in me, I couldn't even begin to think that for everything that I had been told about not being able to get pregnant. Even medically, I wasn't able to get pregnant. I was pregnant naturally. And not only that, we had a 75% chance of carrying a child with sickle cell. But the baby I was carrying inside of me was sickle cell free. I mean, at that point, I needed nothing else in my life. I was contented. I was the most happiest person you could ever think of. So we celebrated the news. Oh my goodness. We called family and friends and we were so excited. At this point, I think I was about 16 weeks pregnant. And the excitement in me, oh my goodness, it was out of this world. I mean, my husband and I, we were so excited. We went out for a meal. We just wouldn't stop talking about a journey, about how far we've come, about how lucky we are. I call that luck. I really don't know what else to call it. We were so blessed to be able to conceive naturally and have a child without sickle cell. I mean, my story is a testimony of the wonderful things that God can do to you that you have no idea. I was lucky and I am lucky. And I mean, the pregnancy went on smoothly as ever. I had very, very little crisis. I had so much energy. Every month was just a blessing. We were just counting down, counting down. And, it was just so exciting that we just wanted this baby to come out so we can feel it and give it all the love that it deserves. So, cut the long story short, pregnancy went smoothly. I had all my hospital appointments, all the checks, everything were checking good. And I went into labor, I think a week before my due date, and we were just getting ready to go to a barbecue, and then I started feeling a bit funny. I was in the kitchen doing something. I think I was frying some akara beans. If you know what that is some African delicacy. Yeah, I had a craving for fried things, akara beans, puff puff. So one Saturday morning, I just wanted to eat it so badly. I was in pain the night before, but I woke up. I was feeling a bit of discomfort, but I really wanted to eat these akara beans. So I went into the kitchen, I started frying, and I told my husband, I'm in a lot of pain, but let me just finish frying this, and then we can call the nurses to check it out and what's happening. So I finished doing that, but I couldn't even eat it. The pain got so bad. We went to the women's hospital in Birmingham, and the nurses came and did their scans and checked, and before I knew it, I was being taken into theatre. Apparently I had been in labor the night before, and I had no idea. I mean, this was my first pregnancy and I had no idea what labor pain was. What I had been told was, trust me, is the worst pain that you can ever think of. And I was thinking this will be worse than sickle cell pain. I have had terrible pain, 20 out of 10 pain with sickle cell. So I was expecting the labor pain to be something similar, but I wasn't getting it. So yeah, the took me straight into theatre and said to me that, what have you been doing? Your baby is in distress. Looks like you've been in labor for the past God knows what. And before I could even think, the baby was out. Yes, it was that quick. And it was so shocking. It took me some time to settle with the fact that I just had a baby. It was exciting. So I had a C-section, and after that, it was a really, really bad experience. I mean, we were so happy and excited. We've got a bouncy baby boy, and we named him Jason. And it was a very exciting time. We called family and friends, but I was not feeling well. For some reason, something wasn't right. Something wasn't just right with me. So I was taken to the ward and all the ops done, all the checks, but for some reason my oxygen levels kept dropping. I was struggling to breathe, and I had to stay in hospital for a very long period of time. And that was a very difficult time. After I've had Jason, it was very difficult. I had so many blood transfusions, and I was running short of blood so many times that, it was just one transfusion after the other, one transfusion after the other. And I think my body had so much blood transfusion that it couldn't take it anymore, and I started reacting to the blood transfusion. So at that point they couldn't give me any more blood, and but my situation wasn't getting any better. And this was a very, very scary period for my family, because a few times they had to be called, that things were not getting better, and they just had to prepare for anything that could happen, because the doctors had tried every single thing that they could. I was in so much pain, all over. I had the worst crisis I'd ever had. I was losing so much blood, but I couldn't have any more blood. I developed jaundice. I developed pneumonia, and I was only getting worse, and I was getting so worried. I wasn't able to look after my baby. I couldn't breastfeed my baby. My husband had to take the baby home. I had to stay in hospital for a very long period of time while my husband was at home with Jason, doing the best he could. And loads of friends and families were stopping by, giving him food that they'd cooked, and telling him how to go about looking after a newborn. So it was a very difficult time, but you know after all that, I got better, even though I can't take any more blood transfusion. We're still finding out the best way to go about that, should in case something happens. But yeah, so that was a very difficult time. We were blessed with a bouncy baby boy. I had all the challenges, but I thank God that I came out of it alive. I came out of it alive. And as if that wasn't enough, few years after, we decided to try it again, and went through the same process, testing the pregnancy, waiting for that phone call. And we were so lucky the second time. The baby had no sickle cell. And I tell you what, I said to my husband, I think this is the point where you just stop, because if you carry on going, God is going to get that upset with you. I mean, you've been blessed twice. What more do you want? I was told that we were not able to have kids. There was very little chance we were going to have any kids, even with IVF, PGD, treatment and all that, you name it. But we had two lovely boys conceived naturally without sickle cell. So I tell you what, I am special. I am special. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And if you have a similar story, if you've had a difficult journey conceiving, and your childbirth journey, you want to share, if you had difficulty with this, please drop a comment. And don't forget to hit the notification button, because every time I put up a new video, you will be notified. See you next time. Bye bye now.